Hey guys, Zach here with Minimalescapes, and this is part 2 to my ultimate budget aquarium. I don't want to make you guys wait any longer, so let's get into it. So it's been about a week since you guys have last seen this tank, or it's been about a week since I last filmed it, and I put the guppies in. They're doing fantastic. See, there's 3 over here, and there's the male right there. And the tank's looking really good. It's just developing a little bit more algae. You can't really see it, but on the glass over here, there's some algae starting to form on the glass, some like string kind of algae. In the back, there's some algae, like in the back there. On the wood, there's some algae. So what I want to do is just turn down the lighting a little bit, and that should pretty much take care of it. The other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some more plants. You can see that I've got the val here, but I have a couple more stems of val that I've just had growing in other tanks, and I'm just going to move them over right now just because this is taking a little longer to grow in than what I wanted. I am starting to see some new growth on the plants. Like down here, there's a piece of dwarf sage that's brand new, and I can see that the val is starting to send runners out, so that's good. I just want to kind of speed up the process. So let me grab those and put them in. So it's actually the next day now. I put the val in, as you can see, I put in quite a bit. I pulled a lot of it out of the Guppy's old tank. There's still some guppies in there, and I'm going to redo that tank anyways, and I don't know if I'll include val in it, so I pulled out a couple of the bigger pieces you can see over here, and I'm really happy with how this is looking, and I know the val's going to grow in. Absolutely no problem. All the dwarf sage in the front, I know is going to grow in as well. So that's really good, and now all I want to do is just get the guppies in, and I'm also thinking I might just pull out a couple of small crypts from the guppy tank as well, just to kind of put them like in the mid-ground. I think I am going to do that actually. So let me grab the crypts, and then I'm also going to scoop up all the guppies to get them into here. So it has been a few days since I've added the guppies, as you guys have seen, and they're doing great. I'm really happy that I've been able to move this big school to a larger tank. I really like how they look in this tank. You can just see them. They school kind of over there, over here, and they just swim back and forth, and it's really awesome to see. I know that that little 20-gallon was starting to get a little too tight for them, but I'm really happy with how this tank has turned out. And I really think that this is going to have some longevity to it. Now, I do have some small issues that I do want to address with this tank, just before it progresses any further. You can see that there's some algae on the glass. There's some on the glass here, there's some on the wood here, there's some in the back. And in order to address this, I'm not too worried about the guppies. They're going to produce quite a bit of waste, so that could add to it. However, I have turned down the lighting. I've reduced the lighting. I think I was on an 8-hour cycle, and now I'm on a 6-hour cycle for lighting, so not that much lighting. And I've also reduced the power of the light. I've turned it back up just for the camera, but it is usually lower than this. So that should take care of some of the algae just as the plants are growing in. Once the plants do come like back and they kind of root and start producing new shoots and things, it'll probably outcompete the algae, and I can turn the lighting back up and have it on for longer. Now, another thing that I want to address right now is you can't see it very well on camera, but there is a bunch of duckweed floating around in the tank. I want to try and get rid of it. As I said in part 1, I want to try and mitigate however much duckweed there is. And in order to do that, though, I am going to leave it first and then scoop it out, just because this is still technically like a newer setup. It's only about a month and a half old, so it's not super old. So I do want to leave the duckweed in just to add a little bit more stability to the tank. Once I see that it's really good in growing in, I am going to remove it, and I'll probably replace it with some of the frog bit or some salvinia that I've got just laying around. I prefer those over the duckweed. They're just easier to manage, and I also think the roots will add a little bit to this tank. Regarding the maintenance of the tank, guppies are quite, not rabbit eaters, but they do always appear to be hungry. Now, as far as what I'm feeding them, I'm just going to give them flake. For the next little bit, I will feed them bloodworms. However, I am going to keep the feeding a little more sparing than I usually would. Just a little bit less. They're still not starving, but in this newer setup, I don't want to give them so much food that they're producing so much waste and starting to overload all the bacteria that's in here, right? So as the bacteria colony builds, I'll slowly feed them a little bit more and more. So like this week, say I give them a pinch, then next week maybe I give them like a pinch and a half, and then I give them 2 pinches, and so on and so forth. And this just slow progression with the amount of food I give them is going to let the bacteria colony build, and it's going to make the waste management in this tank much better, and it'll create an ecosystem. Alright, that's everything for this video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. I'm really happy that I was able to get all my guppies into this big 55 gallon out of their small 20 gallon. But if you did enjoy the video, please consider subscribing, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.